Podcast, episode 7, something like that, maybe, kind of, sort of. I'm your host, JB Motivation, with my long-standing co-host, Chaz, here back at it again. Um, I need to start scheduling out more podcasts. I need to either find more time or more people. But right now, time is a very hot commodity with school and job and this and everything else. So I need to reevaluate and dial back on some things so I can put the focus where I want to put the focus on, which is you guys, the listeners. Even though I don't get paid for this, I still want to put focus on it. I remember when I used to get paid for this; those were good times. But we're gonna try that again. Um, a lot happened since we last talked, like a lot. So before we dive into today's little subject, I also don't know why I'm speaking so poorly. Maybe one of these days I will be able to get a handle on things, kind of get the reps in. We'll get back into it. Don't worry. But a lot's happened, dude. The whole entire fate of our country was decided at 2 a.m. last night. Right? We are recording this on November 6th. By the way, it's not going to come out today. It's most likely going to come out next Monday. The last podcast we did is coming out this Friday that I still need to look at because schoolwork has gotten in the way. But, Chaz, what happened?
So we had our election, and today, this morning, I saw the results. My wife actually woke me up just to say, "Hey, Trump won the election." And honestly, I lean conservative, and that's a strong value of mine. And the Trump winning is, for me, a return to some normalcy in the policies that we hold as a country that will bring back important roles as men and women in this country.
Right. No, 100%. Um, I was watching it. I was working last night. I was watching it the entire shift. And literally, like, we were close for a little bit. We were close for a little bit. I was getting kind of nervous that something was going to happen, but he just kept going and going, ended up winning by a complete another landslide. Like if you're looking at the map and where the projections are, even now that all the ballots still aren't fully counted and there's no physical way for Kamala Harris to win, um, the entire country is red. And the only ones that aren't are the major cities, which goes to show like we've all been on the same page. There's no need for all this discrimination, segregation, and separation of the people, right? All the really heavy left leaning people or hold left leaning ideologies are all in the major cities, which is what the government had wanted all along, which is why they kept pushing to bring people into the cities, get us all together under their system. The rest of America, we're off on our own. We're doing our own thing. We're enjoying our American God given freedoms. And by the grace of God, or Allah, or Brahman, or whatever hell you guys want to freaking worship, I don't judge. Um, we were able to pull through, defying every odd, all of them. We were able to make a comeback again, which is insane. I almost shed a little tear, and almost like this giant sigh of relief came over me. Like, okay, we can finally start making progress again. We can actually start standing up for what is right. We can actually start bringing back what America is supposed to be. Um, and as both husbands, as both fathers, that's a huge relief on our end too, especially as the primary breadwinners. I am hopefully, or I'm hopeful and looking forward to easing of the taxes, a little bit more money in my pocket, the cost of living going down, my family's safety going up, while our freedom is also going up, which is always a great combination. But then just our overall quality of life just progressively getting better. And not only because of him, but because who stands beside him. We have RFK Jr. trying to make America healthy again, which, if anyone listens to me or knows me, I am a huge advocate for. And then you have Elon Musk on the tech side. I just think overall, this I'm hopeful unless some existential crisis happens and something that no one was expecting because of higher strings being pulled. I'm hopeful for what we're doing and where we're going. So
Yeah, and
got some grandkids.
don't forget about traditionally Democratic people, strong figures like Tulsi Gabbard, who was a strong running in the previous elections, who has come out in support of Trump and his administration, and a lot of good positioned people that are going to allow us to get some good laws put in place. Last time Trump was in office, he didn't get as much done as he would like. It's because he was constantly fighting the government to
Mhm.
get somewhere. Now we are in a position where we can make some movement and get some real results.
Oh, 100%. We're about to get the House and the Senate. I forget which one we confirmed, but we're about to get both of them. So that means we can make some moves finally. I just saw something that RK released called um, Policies for People, where people can actually submit policy ideas to be overlooked by his cabinet and be like, okay, this is what the people want. That is a beautiful and genius idea to actually have the people heard.
Man, how great would it be if they did that and then actually implemented single subject bills? Like instead of grouping a set of bills
Hmm.
together, like, well, if you
It'd be
want
a
that
lot
one, you're going to accept
harder to
this
launder
one.
your money. Yeah, no, it's no longer a package deal. That would be amazing. Also helps laundering of the money out of this country or into other people's pockets. I was almost half tempted to just go on there and write a men's mental health hotline, something tailored specifically towards men to help decrease the mental health crisis we have amongst our men population and help maybe lower those suicide rates.
Getting something like that recognized on like an insurance level would be great because being able to call in and talk to a mental health line and have your insurance back it, that would be amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, think about it. We have all this support for the women's side of stuff, which is fantastic. Awesome. Good for them. You know, you're going through some stuff. You have options. You have support. Um, Guys already have a hard enough time. There's already that really hard like stipulation with guys sharing their feelings and their emotions and stuff like that. I feel like maybe they would be a little more comfortable if they had something specifically engineered to them. So that way, one, there's that level of comfortability, but two, they know they're not alone. They know there's help out there, and they also know they're going somewhere where they're not going to be ridiculed or chastised for it, which is what I'm hoping this movement eventually will become big enough to help support and help regulate that. That was always my ultimate goal with this, but we aren't there quite yet. But I feel like those are certain ideas that we can definitely hold on to and cling true.
Yep, that would be amazing. It's always been the path that having a front row seat to the movement of men's mental health. It, it would be great to be there at the front line.
Yeah. Um, Hey, we'll sit on it. We'll think about it. We'll make some moves, and we'll manifest it. That's what the kid. We'll manifest it. That's what we'll do. But with all that being said, with all these crazy things going on, we are now looking at the opportunity for the nuclear family to maybe make a comeback, right? Nuclear family meaning husband, wife, kids, ideally kids that come from both mom and dad in the same household, one big happy family, and sound about right?
Yeah, obviously, as a heterosexual male, I idolize the heterosexual relationship. However, I do acknowledge that you can still get a good structure out of a properly balanced family, even if it's man and man and woman and woman. So I'm not gonna suggest that it's not, but in order to continue as a species, we got to be able to have kids, and that takes both.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, even nowadays, people will argue with you on that, but an outlet and a wall socket were made for each other. But I mean, I also have a different personal bias just because my religious background.
Right.
Um, so as much as yes, the same sex stuff does happen and it can work, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it is not the most ideal situation, especially for the offspring, because obviously the offspring was not going to be theirs. There's always going to be some level of disconnect, and regardless of how masculine or feminine you think you are, genetics are genetics and biology is biology. You were created and designed a certain way to exhibit certain characteristics. Um, so that's my kind of thought on everything. So the most ideal situation would be what nature intended it to be, which is a penis going into vagina, ejaculating, fertilizing the egg, carrying it to term, and out pops a child.
Yeah. I can't say I disagree.
I had to get that graphic. I had to get that graphic. Yes. um, but with that being said, right? Why don't you bring up what you had talked about just a few minutes ago before we started recording? Because I really liked that more. It's a moral dilemma. That's I feel like what's best to call it. It is a human moral dilemma in regards to when you're looking at family, right? And past, present, and future, quite literally. Where do your priorities and morals fall, and where should they fall idealistically, looking at the bigger picture of everything?
Yeah. Talking about getting back to the family, looping into, I was at work, I think last week, and a buddy of mine, Solo is what he goes by when we're talking. He brings up the question, who do you prioritize, mom, daughter, or wife? Now, men will answer this question differently. However, I feel strongly that it should always be your wife first, then your daughter, and then your mother. Now, while your mother has importance, putting her third does not mean that she's not important. It just means that other people take up a closer home to what you have to offer in your day. Uh, but, anyways, so I was going through these with, everybody at the table, and it dawned on me, like, would this question be asked toward a woman, and would she ever put a man first? So
Yeah, I think that's especially nowadays with modern day feminism. That's a hard question, and I almost wish this is times like this is where I wish we had like a female's perspective on things. Be like, what do you think? Okay, you're wrong. Let's continue our conversation. No, I'm kidding. That's not how that would go. Let's
right.
bring you on just to tell you you're wrong. And
I think they got a few shows like that already.
they do. They do. I would never have my show be like that. I have asked my wife multiple times to come on. I feel like she has a very healthy alternate perspective on the different sides of femininity and all that stuff. I feel like she'd be a great voice for this podcast. Um, she just gets a little nervous around me sometimes and she gets a little shy. So we're working on it. But I agree. So I think the original situation that always comes up in is one or two things. One, oh, if you're in a car, who's sitting in shotgun? Or, oh, if all three had to die, but you get to save one, who are you saving? And the whole premise of it is a lot of people are like, oh, save the kid, save the kid, save the kid. Okay, here's the issue that I have with that. You save the kid, who's the mom? Who's going to help nurture that child? Children need the mom just as much as they need the dad. And that is a hill I am willing to die on. There are statistics that show fatherless homes are detrimental to both daughters and sons. Numbers don't lie on that. And it goes both ways. Even though there is a slight bias towards single father homes over single mother homes, but that is a completely different podcast and a completely different argument. And if you want to go there next time, I am more than happy to because I love confrontation. But the whole premise of it is if you get rid of the mom, there's no one to help you raise that child. Now, if you pick your mom, in my opinion, that's just messed up, dude. You got mommy issues. Like you have your whole wife and child there, and you're picking your mom who when you leave and get married, you create a new family and leave your old family. That is the whole purpose of the marriage ceremony. But if you want to forget all about that and be a little mama's boy, fine, go ahead. Save your wife. Because as much as it sucks, one, you've outgrown your mom. She no longer serves a purpose in your life. And I'm not saying that to degrade mothers. I'm saying that, especially as a man, my mom does not serve any sort of purpose or rationale in my life whatsoever. Is it cool to have one? Sure, I have a mom. But does she have any say in what I do? Any premise in what I do? Any importance in what I do? Or decisions that I make for my current family? No. Does my wife? 100%. The reason why then you would choose your wife over your child is because you and your wife can always bear more children. You guys can further your bloodline regardless of whether or not you have one children or 17 children. You can always make more. Chaz, you know exactly what I'm talking about with this one. For those of you
Yes,
that don't know, Chaz has 17 kids.
6.
I'm still going to
Um,
give you a hard time.
right. Just to interject real quick, I
No, go ahead,
realize
please.
that I realize that while you're saying that it's always important to put your wife as your first priority because, of the dynamics you outlined, and not just that, but it's an emotionally charged subject when you take it that dark and that far, but it's realistic. But when you add in the realism of feelings, you're going to pay for the decision you make no matter what, because somebody's going to blame you, and you're gonna hold that burden no matter what. If you let the mother die in a situation and the child grows up motherless, she will blame you because in her mind you could have done something different. It will always turn out that way. Very rare that women give men the space to be like, "Oh, well, you did what you could, and I can't blame you." It's very rare. Even in the vice versa, where you let the child die, the mother will blame the father because she has no one to blame, and you should have saved her, not me. Rational emotional thoughts control that initiative there. But I just want to throw that out there, that it's going to be a burden no matter what. But yes, the wife should always come first.
Right. Especially when talking about such a broad topic like this. And I mean broad is in emotionally broad. Everyone is going to have different experiences, different situations on why they make the choice that they make. There is always a wrong and right answer at the same time. It is Schrodinger's cat of situations. You are both wrong and you are both right in every choice that you make. You can see the rationale for both. However, what a lot of times, if you are a very stoic, emotionally mature, sound individual, you can eliminate emotion out of the situation and best optimize for what is most logical and will bring you the greatest outcome. It's picking the lesser of the three evils. And regardless, just like you said, you have to accept the outcomes. I feel like that argument has been debated and been beaten to the point of death. But you bring up a very interesting twist that I feel like hasn't really been talked about a lot lately, or if at all, in that matter, is replace the people. Replace the people. If the woman had to choose between her son, her husband, or her father, what do you think she's going to pick? And I feel like this answer is quite literally going to differentiate so much across the board that it's mildly concerning.
I'd be willing to say that in that case where you gave that question to a woman, men would fall third place and sometimes fourth place behind some unknown option. Upwards of
The
95% of
bear.
the time.
The bear. I'm saving my son, my father, the bear, and then
Like women forgot that they chose the man that they're with and are supposed to honor that choice. Some reason it's like weak to them to admit that they actually love the person they're with in most cases. There's a real need in modern society
what?
and modern dating to return to a dynamic where women and men are actually invested in each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're so afraid to be like, no, I need my man. What the hell are y'all doing? No, he builds me up. He supports me. He's got me.
I think the honest answer is that there's a constant I'm going to get you first before you can get me. And with the modern way that things work and the access to the internet and, flattery, it's real easy to slip up. And there aren't people putting in the effort to stay in the lane of the relationship.
Yeah. So you think it's more of a call on men to be like, hey, one, do better for yourself, right? Um, Follow the four tiers that I always preach on. Improve on your physical, mental, spiritual, and your communal. But not only that, do better at vetting the women that you're choosing to have relations with.
I think we need to get away from this fuck and then date kind of society that we've created. Realistically, if we started investing in like getting to know people and understanding them before we started moving to the nasties, we would really see a better dynamic. And men have to start holding themselves more accountable that when they know a woman has a man, they need to walk away from that situation completely and not entertain it. Because as much as we like to blame women, like, hey, you have all the power when it comes to sex, we as men also have the power to be like, oh, you're with someone? Nah, not me.
Mhm. Yeah, that used to be bro code. Like men, in my opinion, do a lot better job at that than women do. Just from what I've seen and experienced, is, is usually it was, hey, I'm not going to do bro like that. Like it's not his fault if the woman doesn't disclose or whatever that she's in a relationship, and the side dude finds out and then he backs away. But if she's upfront with it, like, yeah, no, I'm in a relationship, and dude knows, bro code, bro code.
I was born in the 80s, so I grew up through the 80s and 90s, and I always had a rule about friends, and it was simple that if you ever dated a friend of mine, I don't care how long ago, how brief it was, you were off limits.
Yep, yep. I used to follow that same rule. Some of my friends, however, did not choose to follow that same rule, and it never works out. It doesn't. It never works out. And what do they say? Usually, how you get them is how you lose them,
Yeah, and
and
that's across the board too, so it's not like just a male centric,
yeah.
it's on both sides.
Oh no, 100%. And I definitely do think it is a case where men need to start doing better. And of course, I'm including myself in that category as well, as I'm still improving and still striving and still doing everything I can to be a million times better than even the man I was over a year ago. Um, I think we just need to start doing better all around. And in turn, that is going to reflect not only in our relationships, but the relationships that we also choose to get into, right? Because if I was me now, back then, I would not even contemplate half the relationships or situations that I would have found myself into. But that comes with time and experience, right? And I feel like men are doing themselves such a disservice by not getting out and seeking that improvement. So they're hindering their own self experience so that they don't know how to go about certain situations, and then they fall, and then they keep falling because they're not learning from anything. They're self-isolating with video games or technology. They're too emasculated to walk up to a woman. Like, I'm sorry, like, especially with the whole dating app thing, I wish that never existed, because part of that vetting process, right, part of your rite of passage to becoming a man is going up to that girl that you see at a restaurant, at a bar, at wherever, in public, putting yourself on the spot and being like, hey, I find you really pretty. Do you find me somewhat handsome? Oh, awesome. I would like to take you on a date. Gentlemen, please do not use that word for word. You will fail miserably and they'll think you're slightly autistic, but you get the idea. The idea is you need to, because she's most likely she's going to say no, unless you're freaking, I don't, name a Ryan Reynolds. Unless you're Ryan Reynolds, she's going to probably say no at first or something, because you'll come off weird and awkward if it's your first time, and it's going to be an uncomfortable situation for everybody, honestly. But you're going to go back and you're going to be like, oh, that sucks. And then you're going to do it again, and it's going to happen probably 9 times out of 10 until you get enough reps underneath your belt where you don't care whether or not they say yes or no. And as soon as women see you not care that if they say yes or no, guess what? That's your magic key that they're interested. Oh my gosh, it just took you 7. Sorry.
They
I
see
went
that as
off a little
confidence.
off topic.
Like but what you were saying right there at
Yeah.
the end, women, when hey, you want to go on a date? No. And you're like, sure, okay, move on. And because of that move on factor, they see that as confidence for some reason, not like, hey, I'm just kind of used to this by now.
Well, yeah, because women like men that operate in their own frame, right? Their own masculine frame. So when you go up and you're like, hey, I would like to take you out on a date, and she goes, no, you're like, cool, I'm just going to go back to doing what I was doing. She sees that as, oh, you already got your own thing going on. You wanted to include me in that thing you have going on. Oh, I like the fact that you have something going on. Now I'm interested because I want to be included in something that you have going on. If she goes, no, and you go, okay, but please, she's going to look at you like, dude, do you not have anything better to do with your life? I don't want to be the only thing you're worried about.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So let's bring this back to the original question. I am sorry that I let us off on a little tangent there. I'm really bad at that sometimes. We've kind of established that we are going to get different answers across the board, and I think modern day feminism has made that a big factor on why even you would joke around and say, yeah, women would choose their husband 4th out of 3 options. I would say my father, my son twice, and then you. Why do you think that is?
Oh,
Say
man.
men are doing everything that they possibly could, right? And they're still getting picked last. Where do we stand now?
I honestly think that there's a big issue with representation in those people that we kind of idolize for no reason, like actors, song singers, and rappers, and it. There's a bigger perception that women should never need a man, because if they do, they're at the mercy of a man, and that's bad in the new world of the way things work. When in all actuality, relying on someone and having them be the person that you need to be able to rely on is the whole point of a relationship. Like when I'm with my wife, I let her guide me as her husband, because she's going to tell me who I need to be and the way I need to do that to make her feel like she's important. She should look to do the same thing towards me.
Yeah, 100%. I also think a big thing is this whole toxic masculinity, this whole framing that all men are bad. Again, the man in the bear situation in the woods. So it's always going to come down to, unless they, ooh, unless they have like daddy issues or something. Again, I still don't think they're ever going to be able to see it the way that we would see it, right? I feel like unless they have a solid foundation in their marriage and understand certain principles and boundaries, um, that the child is always going to come first and foremost because it's that motherly bond, it's that motherly connection, right? She's going to want to protect her baby cubs with everything that she's got, not realizing that, yeah, you can protect your baby cubs, but once that man goes, once your husband goes, and there's danger coming, you had nothing to protect either of you. And I'm sorry, I don't want to hear any woman go, I could protect us, I could do that, I could. I'm sorry, three guys knock on your door right now, armed, you are not going to stand a chance. You might be able to get one of them, maybe two if you're armed as well, but nope.
And you think about that all men until no men argument, and it's like, well, who exactly are you expecting to stand up against these few men who you choose to represent all men? Other men. So how about you put some faith behind the fact that the majority of men, and I mean the mass majority of men, are not the evil beings that the few are, and they are exactly who you're going to ask to step up and stand in to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think once they realize the importance of having a good masculine figure in their lives, they'll start to realize, and even studies showed, um, that when parents are able to work together, right, when spouses are able to work together, the whole family unit just functions so much better. There's a divorce lawyer that every once in a while he'll pop up my feed, and he just came out with a video not too long ago talking about how parents that idolize their kids more than each other, like moms putting their kids higher than their husband or vice versa, is one of the leading causes for divorces because you guys aren't being about each other. You guys aren't filling each other's cups. You guys are neglecting each other and focusing solely on the children, which a lot of people get confused by that. They're like, yeah, why wouldn't you focus on the kids? No, the kids need to see what good adulting is. The kids need to see what a healthy relationship is. So, in order to do so, that is helping them establish those boundaries, right? Nope, sorry, mom, dad, and I, or sorry, mom and I are talking right now. Nope, sorry, you're gonna have to wait. Nope, sorry, we are going to do this date night. You guys get to stay home because we need to continue to date and cultivate our relationship in order to provide you the best household and the best environment possible for your growth.
Look at the current way that people parent, where the father is routinely made to be the bad guy because the mother wants to be the friend. Now, in a normal dynamic, the mother and the father work together and in unison to make sure that the child understands the boundaries. But in modern
Mhm.
times, and in my last marriage, the mother always made me be the bad guy. Like I had to put the message out there and I had to make the child understand the right from wrong. And then the mother would go behind me and coddle the child afterwards. And down the road, the child just starts to learn, well, dad sucks. Mom's where it's at. It's a preconditioning to make it to where
Yeah,
men
I mean,
don't matter.
yeah, that's even a hard conversation I have with my wife sometimes because again, with us, we have kids that aren't mine, right? So that's already a drawback on authoritative figures as it is. Then because of the way I am, I operate with a standard, right? And I want those around me to uphold a certain level of standard as well. And it's not outrageous standards, it's standard hygiene, don't be addicted to video games, no, you're not eating candy 7 days a week. For the most part, my wife and I have been pretty much on the same page. The problem is, though, she's been doing this mothering stuff on her own without a good masculine figure with her for so long now that either she's used to being both and that's hard, or she just wants to mother because she's had to be the dad figure for so long. She wants to mother and she wants to hold on to that mothering for as long as she possibly can. I don't blame her. Don't blame her. I'm not going to neglect her feelings. Why? Because I'm not a mom. I don't know how it is. All I do know is from the outside looking in, I can see things that she doesn't, and I'm able to enact things that it might be harder for her to enact. The problem is when I try to enforce certain things, I notice the kids immediately run to her. And I'm like, you need to have my back on this. Otherwise, just like you said, it's always going to the mom because dad's always the bad guy.
And it's part of the importance of establishing, you know, like I was saying earlier, we talked about the nuclear family and the return of it.
Hmm.
You can't have that if the child perceives that it's mom versus dad, because the child learns who to use
Hmm.
for what scenario. And then the child grows up thinking that they can get through life just using people in the scenarios that, you know, benefit them.
Right. Yeah. I'm again, because of my religious background and ideology, I believe that Christ comes first, then the husband, then the wife, then the kids. And that is not to say that the husband is better than the wife, because I get that a lot. It's that is the line of authority. All right. I get my authority from God. My wife gets her authority from me. The kids get the authority from everybody else above them. It is weird as it sounds. It's like almost like a corporate ladder. Like, nope, got to consult with the big man first. Up, all right, he got back to me. Here's what he said. Um, but in that same aspect, the best way to do that without fail is to think about it like this: love flows down, not up. And sorry, love flows down, not up. Respect flows up, and I guess down, depending on which way you look at it. The big part is the beginning, though, and it's hard for me to conceptualize this or put it into words because it's so much easier to put it when you see it in action. But women and wives, whatever, respond best to feeling loved. I don't care whether or not you love me. I want you to respect me. If I see you respect me, that's showing me that you love me. So that's where I feel like a lot of families get into that issue and conflict is that they're not speaking that language. And then the kids see it and then they get confused. Have you heard about all that before? Like that whole flow?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it a couple times. I watch a lot of TikTok, um, especially when I'm working. But
Nice.
I've seen a lot of newer discourse coming out about how people don't understand the real dynamics of what it means to love toward a man and love toward a woman because it's perceived differently, and they do it from a perspective of
Hmm.
what they expect received to them. And a lot of times, it's what causes a lot of failure in people is that they perceive that they are giving the love that they should want instead of figuring out the way that the person is receiving the love.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that goes into the whole love language thing as well, too. Um, even down to like, what was that video that I saw? It made so much sense, but basically, in the premise of it is, why wouldn't women want to serve and respect their man if he's worthy of it? Because everything flows down from us, especially if we're the main provider. If my wife makes my life better and my life easier, I'm able to do more with what I have with a better energy. And in turn, that pours down to everyone. So when a woman speaks life into her man, and yes, there is some ego stroking involved because I've seen that too. Why do I have to stroke his ego? Well, guess what? Why wouldn't you want to? Because if you do that, make him feel good, make him feel better, make him feel like he's going out and tackling the world and doing everything that he needs to do. Guess what? Everything, because we're hunter gatherers, everything that we hunt and gather and bring back home to you, that is for your benefit. Does this sound a little manipulative? Sure. But at the end of the day, if you want what's best for you and your family and your marriage, why aren't you willing to do that? Because guess what? If you do that and you build him up, you will reap the rewards. It makes so much sense. And as a man, I want to be able to do that for my partner, right? I want to be able to do that for my kids. And I think what happened was where we really went wrong. That was a tongue twister and a half. Where we really went wrong is we went from a what can you do for me? What can you do for me? What do you bring to me? Uh, no, how about you show up and you're like, here's what I can do for you. And if you have two people that look at each other and says, here's what I want to do for you, here's what I'm going to do for you, as long as we meet each other's needs, literally there's no way you can't grow or you can't support each other.
Yeah. If both people are pursuing the other person with the guidance of happiness for the other person, then they'll make sure the other person's happy. Ultimately, I don't require someone to, uh, like my wife, I don't require her to constantly, I love you, I love you. What I actually care about is when I feel like I'm being allowed to be part of her day. I don't know what kind of love language that is, but I know that when she makes me feel like I matter because she's telling me about what's going on in her day, and then she listens to me when I respond, and she doesn't just like listen to have a quick response and start talking more about her. Well, that kind of dialogue
Mm,
builds a important emotional bond for me.
right. Yeah. So I think with all that, I feel like big takeaways here as we look moving forward, not only as a country, but also as a community, as families and stuff like that. Always seek self improvement, right? Both men and women. Men have it a little bit harder because if we don't seek self improvement, we get rejected by societal standards. We need to be able to provide. As much as it sucks to say, women, on the other hand, if they don't want to improve at all, they don't need to, as long as they're attractive enough. And I don't care what anyone wants to argue with that. OnlyFans is a perfect example, so you can shove it up yours. I can't show my butthole online and make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I need to have a personality and skills. And yes, that is a diss on SEX workers because I wish it was that easy. I don't because I have self respect a little bit. Now we're working on it, progress. But holy crap. Like, imagine if women drove to be the most feminine and just that's the best word I can come up with at this present moment. The most feminine, pure version of themselves, and men drove to be the most masculine, pure version of themselves. Oh my gosh, we wouldn't have half the issues that we do right now. But we don't. Men are pressured to improve, women are pressured to objectify and idolize. Am I wrong?
No, it's definitely something that you and it's what I was talking about with the stars, movies, TV shows, rap songs, rock songs. They all idolize sex. Even your small candy bar advertisings. You'll see an attractive woman selling the bar. You'll see an attractive woman selling, the car. You'll see an attractive man selling the cigar. Anytime you look at advertising and anytime you look at a TV series, sex sells, and it's conditioned in us from a very young age.
Oh. And granted, like, sex is great with the right person, like my wife. We click. I'm not gonna get into details, but we got some things going on. Um, eh, I had to verbiage that very carefully because people will just take that one part and be like, "Oh, sex is great with everyone and anything." No, it has serious repercussions, and there's a reason why there's such a stigma around it. And noticed how, as a society, we are slowly morally collapsing as sex is slowly becoming more available and popular and cool and, free and liberating. Well, yeah, guess what? Because now, where are we at? It has become so morally flawed that we now have to ban porn sites, right? Because young kids are getting access to it so early on. We now have kids going to school that are being made fun of because their friends subscribe to their mom's OnlyFans. Real stories. Don't believe me? Look it up. That is traumatizing as a kid. Like,
Yeah,
it's none of this is normal.
my my wife defined for me the other day that there's a major difference when you're having sex with someone because they're available and you need to get your rocks off, and you're having sex with someone because that's who you choose, that's who you want, that's who you want to experience. The level of gratification we've been getting, we we've gone through a little bit of a rough patch, and in the reconnection period, the reconnection has been so overwhelmingly positive for us both that it's feeling almost like dating brand new again.
Mm. You cut out just a little bit. You mind just repeating yourself? I don't know if the audio cut out with that.
I was just talking about how having sex with someone because they're available and you need to get your rocks off, and having sex with someone who that's the person you choose to have sex with, that's the person you want and you
Mm.
want to experience. The difference in what you actually get out of that is so amazing because the me and my wife have gone through a little bit of a rough patch, and in the rediscovery of each other, it's almost like we're doing it now because we want to experience each other, and that rediscovery is almost like brand new dating level sex.
She pegged you, didn't she?
Yes, I'm a sailor.
Yeah, I knew it. Like, I found myself sexually again, and I'm like, yeah, she railed you, didn't she?
No, I'm an exit only.
I like making things awkward for you. It's really funny. Um, but to kind of, come to a close here and recap, right? We have so many good possible situations and outcomes moving forward as a nation, as a community, as a people. If you really want to capitalize this at its roots, bringing back the nuclear family has an effect on home life, on work life, on your kids' lives for future generations that can lead to a greater impact across this entire great country. With that being said, in order to do so, men, you need to do better on vetting and working on yourself. Women, take some gosh darn accountability and be able to hold yourself to a higher standard without letting every Tom, Dick, and Harry inside of you. Like, have a little self respect, at least. And I know just saying that is going to offend everybody and their mother on the left side. And I don't care. Look at your life versus mine. My boobs are bigger than yours. Suck it. Meh. Anyway, I don't know where that came from or why I just said that. Um, especially if you want your kids to have the best and healthiest possible chance at a future. be a team with your spouse. Ideally, have some sort of moral foundation that is primarily based on a religious background, only because, again, that is statistically proven to raise a better quality family. What the hell do you have going on in the background, Chaz?
People going in and out of the door. I'm set up in my
Get
living
some
room now.
WD 40, my friend. Lordy. Do you have anything else to add with that being said? I think I touched the major points.
I think we covered a lot, and I would hate for it to get lost by adding more to it. I agree with you completely about men taking up the mantle and owning themselves and being more representatives of themselves instead of just existing as playthings in life. If we really came together as men and respected other men and kept women in line by not allowing them to step out, then we ourselves would create a better tomorrow. And as far as America goes, man, I can only wait for the new law he's going to put into place about not taxing tips. Do you know how amazingly different that's going to be for people who work in the service industry?
And overtime, dude.
Yeah, overtime too. Well, I don't
And
get that.
overtime.
I'm salary.
But I mean, but still though, like tips and overtime for a good majority of the population is huge. It's huge. It's splendid. It's fantastic. China is never going to see the money.
Something like that. Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's probably all I've got to say about a recap level.
yeah, perfect. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm gonna try to get a few more out to you guys. Life's been a little busy, but I don't want to use that as an excuse to slow down. Um, let's get Chaz some WD 40 for that squeaky door if you guys can hear it in the background. Other than that, Chaz, thank you so much. Till next time, we'll probably talk again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Stay positive, stay motivated. Please like, share, subscribe to the podcast. It means a lot right now. And as always,